So we have a lot of homework to do. Islam, as I mentioned yesterday, is a practical religion. Islam is asking you to be a practical human being. And inshallah, in the weeks that follow, in the days that follow, we have this game plan in our minds. And I want to present that to all of you one by one, bit by bit, dimension by dimension. What can we do to make sure that I fix myself, inshallah? Inshallah, you'll stay with me, inshallah, and we'll be a successful Ramadan this year. And this is what I'm after while I'm here, inshallah. Salawat bihi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In the 10 minutes that we have, or 15 minutes that we have left before iftar, before Salat al-Maghrib, I want to make sure that I set the guideline for the next 2 weeks. So all of you know what I'll be discussing moving forward. One dimension is a discussion on the afterlife that I have to have with all of you. Our concept of death and what death is in reality are two different things. Mawla Ali is saying, remember death whenever you can. Our mom is saying, don't mention even the word death in the home. Mawla Ali is saying that a successful believer is one who constantly remembers death, but we shake at the sound of the word death. So there's a problem here. Either it's our mafhum or our understanding of death, that's the problem, or maybe the Ahlul Bayt are wrong. And of course, number two is not possible. So our understanding of the afterlife is not there. So that's one discussion, inshallah, we'll have. Maybe across 2 days. The other discussion that we have to have for my youth is that we have to have a discussion on the falsafa of the intizar of our Mahdi. We have to be able to understand what is it that our duty is while we're waiting for this 12th Imam to appear, and to spread Islam. The ayat I read from you from this, in the khutbah, is this idea that the deen that is closest to Allah, the Quran says, is Islam. Which means what? Which means that Islam will be victorious. Have no shak or no doubt in your mind about that. That when everything else, right now, look, the situation is very bleak, I understand that. There's oppression, there's injustice, there's tyranny all over the Middle East. There's blood being shed, there's homes being bulldozed, there's people being killed, there's rights being taken away. And us in the West, sometimes we feel helpless. We feel as if we should be doing more, but we can't. And that's why we have this concept where if this society teaches us about me, Islam says we. If this society says the individual, Islam says the ummah. Where if one part of your body is in pain, all other parts of your body runs and rescues that part from its pain. Same idea. If the Middle East is burning right now, if there's blood being shed in Iraq and Afghanistan, we can't say that, oh, I'm not Iraqi, I'm not Afghani, I'm not Pakistani, I'm not Irani. No, you're a Muslim, they're a Muslim. You are brothers in faith. That's enough for you to feel a pinch inside your heart for what they're going through. And so right now, if I was to tell you that Islam will be victorious, you wouldn't believe me, or perhaps you have a little bit of doubt. Because we have in our hadith, let's be careful, we have in our hadith that one of the true signs before the zuhur of the Imam is that his own Shias will doubt his reappearance. They'll look, Mawla, how much more bloodshed has to happen? When are you coming? Are you even coming? If you don't come now, when will you come? We have to tackle these issues one by one. We have to create that certainty inside of us. Because the Quran promises that Islam will prevail. The question is, the big question is, that when Islam is succeeding, where will you and I be? Are we going to be beside the Imam in his victory, or are we going to be opposing the Imam in his victory? Because look, there are two types of calling for the Imam. We're saying وَعَجِّلْ فَرَجَهُمْ وَعَجِّلْ فَرَجَهُمْ. We're reading Dua Imam al-Zamana, we're reading Dua al-Nutba, Dua al-Tawassul. There are two types of calling in history. One is the call of the people of Kufa for Imam Hussein. One is the call of the people of Medina for Rasul Khuda. Two separate results, the same call. The people of Kufa, very briefly, as many of you know, 18,000 letters, Sheikh Abbas Qummi and Nafas al-Mahmum writes, 18,000 letters were written to Imam Hussein from the people of Kufa that please come, Mullah, please come, Mullah. We are yatim from you. We want you. We need you to guide us. And everyone here knows the history, mashallah. Imam Hussein said Muslim ibn Aqil. And again, 18,000 people came, gave bay'at to Muslim ibn Aqil. He wrote to Imam Hussein that these people are legit, they're true, they're real, come. A little bit of pressure, a little bit of threatening, a little bit of fear, and they left. Not one stayed. And Imam Hussein came to nobody. The other call was that of the people of Medina, who called Rasulullah, says, you want to establish Islam? Forget the Meccans, come establish Islam in Medina. But Rasulullah didn't go right away. History tells us he waited for them to change their state and change themselves and reform their ummah, and then he brought that famous hijrat from Mecca to Medina. And he was successful. My question to you is, are we the people of Kufa or are we the people of Medina? Are we calling the Imam out of love and a little bit of pressure from the enemies of Islam? Because if the pressure is hot now, give it some time. It's going to get hotter. And a true test of a mu'min's iman is when he's surrounded by difficulties, by the way. Or are we the people of Medina, where the Imam will only come when we've changed ourselves? That's where you and I have to think and stop and ask ourselves, who am I? Am I an Ahl Kufa or an Ahl Medina? My belief and my prayer is that we are of those who are of the Medinans. We are those who will call the Imam only when we are ready for the Imam. And that's one discussion has to happen in these next 2 weeks. Another discussion that we have to have in these 2 weeks, just to wrap up, is this concept of hope versus hopelessness. Our youth are going through a difficulty where they're finding this idea of being hopeless. I've spoken to enough youth in North America to know that they're doubting this idea that Islam is the actual right path. And this doubt is very dangerous. The problem lies, and I'll wrap up with this. The problem lies, the acceptance of a certain ideology is always sometimes in the presentation of that ideology. If that ideology is presented like a beautiful wrapped up gift, then you'll accept it. Islam for our youth has been presented in the wrong fashion. We've presented Islam to our youth as a series of laws, halal and harams, jais and najais, and that's it. We have not presented Islam to our youth as a complete system of life, as a complete solution. And that's why you see a lot of times when we have Q&As, we have discussions, a lot of it is this halal, is this haram? Can I do this? Can I not do this? Because we've presented Islam like that to our youth. Now what happens is that if you present Islam as a series of laws, and you go through a few days where you break those laws constantly, a sense of failure comes inside of you. A sense of hopelessness comes inside of you. You convince yourself that these laws are too hard. And I can't do it. Get salawat bi hijri Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And so we have to reverse that presentation of the deen to our youth. We have to ensure that they understand that if you have any problem in Islam, or any problem in your life, Islam is the solution. That if you can't find that solution, it's not Islam's weakness, it's a weakness within ourselves. We have a hadith where somebody approached Imam Ali and says, hey gosh, only if this was in the Quran, if that was in the Quran. And Mawla Ali says that gosh is even in the Quran. You have to go find it. So our presentation to our youth has been done incorrectly in my eyes. And this is resulting in this idea where our youth are slowly moving away from the path. They simply find it too hard to follow these laws of Islam because they don't see it as an avenue of a solution for them. Because right now, our youth are going through tremendous pressures. They're asked to make decisions that will affect them 20 years from now. They're asked, let's say, to choose a spouse, to build a family, to choose a major, to study hard, to choose a right profession, to do all these different decisions at the age of 24.